guys, what's up? It's Matt. It is Sunday night. It is the RYLA Routine. I've got the amazing Erin with us tonight. Erin, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am lovely. I am lovely. It was a beautiful day in Oklahoma. How was it in Kansas?
It was a very nice day. Like 55, 56, somewhere in there.
Yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely day. So we're gonna jump right into it. So RYLA, you're one of the vets. They come back and done a few things in RYLA, but when it comes to RYLA, when it comes to Rotary, kind of give me the lay of the land when it comes to Erin and Fredonia, Kansas, making its way to District 6110 in RYLA.
Yeah. So I was one of the first girls to go to RYLA from Fredonia. So we kind of set the path. Hannah Joera and I went to RYLA when in 2008 as juniors. Absolutely fell in love with it, fell in love with the message they had, begged Rotary to keep sending people. Went back as chief CITs, forced my brother to go. So half of Kyle, he did not want to do that. Still was begging to not go the morning of RYLA, and now he goes back every year, flies across the country to come back. So um, I like to say I'm an OG for RYLA from Fredonia, and then I also like to say I'm an OG for just RYLA in general, since I've been there since you've started.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just kind of paved the way to get Fredonia on the map, and now I think we sent 3 this year,
Yeah.
which is cool
So,
to still
so what's
see.
what's Fredonia, Kansas like? Give me like, I mean, like, give me like the because I want to like set the stage to like really understand what RYLA means. I didn't ask Daniel or Kylie questions like that. Like, tell me more like I mean, how big of a school is Fredonia? What's Fredonia, Kansas like?
So Fredonia, Kansas is small. Probably more cows than there are people. I think I graduated with maybe 50 in my class. So definitely a small high school. You're friends with everyone because you have no other choice, right? No movie theater, no Walmart. Had to drive 30 miles one way or the other to get groceries from Walmart or to go to a movie, go to bowling. Didn't really have much. So you had the people you had and you were close with them. So it was a nice, close knit family town. It's
What's
perfect
so
for
what's
everyone.
the what's it like as a kid, and I said as a kid, 2008, as a kid coming for Fredonia, Kansas to RYLA for the first time, and acknowledging that was a few years before Tracy and I started partnering to support camp, but being from Fredonia, Kansas, I mean, what was that experience like for you? What was camp like that made you want to come back?
So first off, camp was overwhelming just because there was probably more people at camp than in my class, which was scary. And then of course we were split up, so I wasn't with anyone I was familiar with or knew. I think what made me want to come back is because it pushed me. It made me want to see what I could do, see what I could accomplish. I'm definitely afraid of heights, and I was on what we had as high ropes, which was quite janky compared to what we have now. So I pushed myself. Challenge by choice was definitely still a motto that they didn't make me do it, but they were like, I just challenge you to take the first step up on the ladder. And then I took another one. And then next thing I know, I was 20 feet in the air. Um, so I think that's what made me want to come back is I knew there was things out there that I could accomplish that I've never been challenged to accomplish because you're not accomplishing heights in high school. You're not accomplishing telling your past or learning about someone else's or sharing or just learning about leadership in general. You're there to learn math and social studies and chemistry. I was never able to be my authentic self, I felt like, in high school. And at RYLA, I felt I could.
That's awesome. So you go to camp, and you come back and support camp, and like a lot, I was this past week at our Rotary Club here in Tulsa, and was sharing with a couple of folks. I had since 2011, we have that number, 2,143 campers that have been through camp, and I've yet to dissect the number of how many of those campers have come back.
Yeah.
I think the impressive thing for me always is how many people come back, not one year, but you've got the group that's in leadership right now that have continued and continued and continued to come back. And somebody like yourself that says, Matt, I don't want to be a CIT or chief, but like I can absolutely support you in a different way. And I
Mhm.
know that you've stepped into kind of that media role and helping us out and really to showcase camp and share camp. I think the the high ropes course, like you think about the high ropes course, like kids get this experience on the ground and that's all of camp. And then what you've been
Mhm.
able to do with the media is take all of that and show them what that looks like from up top, because they're in the middle of it. You are right. It's challenging to be authentic if you've never been. It's been okay to be authentic and be you. Um, and I think that, so awesome that from a media standpoint to be able to show people like camp actually happening, to see some authentic kids in those spaces they maybe haven't been.
Yeah.
What when you so we kind of come into the fold of like 2011 when Tracy and I kind of step in, and I know I had a conversation with you and had a conversation with Tim Fernandez, and like between the two of you said, like, I tell people this story all the time, like, basically ask, like, tell me about camp. Tracy had given me like a book, because Tracy had chaperoned, I guess,
Mhm.
had given me like here's a mock schedule. And in the process of that, I called and said, hey, are there some things that are like, just shouldn't change? You remember that conversation?
I do.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Like, because I don't want to I put words in everybody's mouth all the time. I'm like, yeah, and Erin told me to keep this.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So obviously I think RYLA Mania was a huge one that I never wanted you to take out. One, I think a lot of people come out of their shell that night. They're still scared during the afternoon. They don't really know anyone in their group. But once you kind of challenge them to do those minute to win it games that we do, and you guys have obviously taken it to a whole nother level than what we had, you kind of are forced to come out of that shell. You're tight. You're working together. Everyone wants to win. So I think that kind of is where the shells start peeling back. The layers of the onion are coming off. And then the next thing that I didn't ever want to have go, and I hope it never does, is the retirement of the flag. That's something I had never seen before in person. With having someone, my grandpa serving, it is so respectful for me to like be able to see. It's an honor to be able to see it. And so that was the first time I'd ever seen it, was at RYLA. And so to see a flag that was retiring or being retired and honoring the people who have served and who are serving and will serve, it was kind of one of those goosebump feelings. The mood set with the campfire and it's dark and quiet and you're just in the woods. It was one of those things that it will always be one of those like eerie, just good feeling moments for me at RYLA.
Yeah, I think, what's interesting is you said the same thing. I believe, and that's that. I had never seen the retirement of a flag. So
Mhm.
when you were explaining this to me, kind of on year one, there in 2012 when we rolled with this, it was really just, I was kind of, trusting that, Erin said this is what it looked like, and like honestly, like I trusted it. I trusted that it was right. It was so impressed and so in awe, and as I look at, from 2012 to today, obviously, I tell folks all the time, especially when I talk to Rotary clubs, like all the concern that people could have about, people. There was a time in this country where a lot of conversation 2 weeks before camp, Colin Kaepernick took a knee before, during the national anthem, and I was highly concerned, not concerned for like the opportunity for somebody to share how they felt about a subject that was so critical at the time, but really how would folks respond,
Yeah.
especially when you've got folks that haven't, that's on Thursday. And like maybe on Friday, by agree, disagree, like when we've got that chopped up and like we're in the middle of like really understanding culture, and you could have somebody that could have a feeling towards something because of their past and how they're shaped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I'm always in awe at the level of respect for that moment
Mhm.
that campers, chaperones, CITs, chiefs,
Yeah.
all folks pay to that. And it's interesting we talk about that tonight because obviously on the weekend of Veterans Day, um, and to know the importance that brings to us, and to be able to pay respect to our veterans that attend camp with us, but at the same time, the
Mhm.
number of kids that I'm in awe at that stand up every year and say I'm willing to serve and I want to serve and I know that's the path.
Yep.
That's always so impressive to me, on that side of things. So I absolutely want to say thank you for that. I think the other thing that's critically important that you said can't change is the affirmation cards.
Oh, yes. Oh my goodness. I should have had them on my desk. I have probably a stack
Yeah.
thick. Actually I have this year's right now that I still am reading. From just leadership, and I always have a blank card that I like doodle the year and make sure that I have them separate so I know what year is what. I go through them all the time. It's kind of interesting to see like how different I have changed as a person and as a leader just through the affirmation cards of like what I've brought to the table. Obviously you can see from 2008 when I was a camper and not out of my shell to 2023 when I'm like, I like to call myself an adult, but just how I like have helped or how I've how I've grown as a person to impact someone else's thumbprint. So it's really cool to like read through the years or when I'm going through a hard time. Those are what make me smile for sure.
Yeah, I think about the cards, and like I'm in the same place, right? Like I've got like stack from this year and a stack from this year, and like
Mm-hmm.
mine are kind of spread out. Like I've got some in my closet, I've got some on my desk,
Oh, I
I've
love that.
got some in my car. Like I, I I mean, even as the 41-year-old adult that thinks he has his life together, like there's moments where I'm like, I question this a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I need a, I've just been ran through the buzzsaw in one moment, and I've got to turn around and go do something great over here, and
Yep.
that it's a roller coaster. But I've got them kind of spread out. And honestly, it's a little bit of lack of organization. I wish they were all in one place, but they're not. It kind of serves its point though that I have them kind of spread out where I have those
Yeah.
moments. But I think
Yeah.
back to like, and I know we experienced, we experienced multiple different years of camp where you have, literally you've got index cards being done outside in the rain. You've got it. I mean,
Yep.
weather is just what it is. Um, but those power of moments, I think at camp are so critical. And when you look at like the thumbprint, like we're talking about deposits and withdrawals, and we're talking about, beliefs, values, and all of that. I mean, when you look at the kids that have come to camp and the staff that come to camp, everybody has moments at camp that make camp important and make camp, what it is. Some of that's people, some of that's I've been at camp since 2008, so I've got like every year I feel like I've got a moment, right? I think I walk
Mm-hmm.
away every year with like that moment right there was awesome, or that person's awesome, or like I can't believe that happened. Um,
Yep.
tell us about a couple of your RYLA moments. Like, what are some things about camp that just, when you think about RYLA, that's something that comes to you personally. That's something that comes to you at camp. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Um, so I would say my overall biggest RYLA moment would be in 2012 after we had lost one of our CITs, Will Norton, to the Joplin tornado. We had you and Tracy were so lovely to work with us on planting a tree in Will's honor at camp. We did that on Wednesday, and then we honored him on Thursday night, I believe, maybe Friday night. And we passed out his Will Norton Will to Beast bracelets to the entire camp. And we were in a moment. Olivia, Katie, Matt, Janie, Stuart. I mean, the whole crew that knew him. We just met on stage and started hugging. And we are young by Fun played, and the next thing you know, the whole camp was behind us. It was probably the most spirit like moving moment I've had at RYLA. Not to say there hasn't been people or other things that have changed my life, but that one has always stuck out with me. It's one of those moments where these people didn't even know Will. They didn't know us from Adam. We hadn't met half of them. And they knew that in that moment, it was a powerful moment and we all needed to be together. And I think, honestly, that's what changed camp. It was such a pivotal moment for camp. So that would probably be my RYLA moment forever. Olivia and Katie and I, when we get together yearly, play that song every time and just rock out to it. So that's probably all three of our moments, if you ask us. However, there's definitely those individual moments. I think 2019, one of my favorite individual moments is, I forget what tribe she was in, but her name was Natalie, and she was not going over that wall. Absolutely was not going over that wall. And she just kind of came back and was talking to me on when I was filming. And, I was talking to her and she's like, I'm not doing it. And I was like, okay, what's going to take? Like, what is it going to take for you to go over? And she was like, all of the guys. Being up top and all the guys being at the bottom. And I was like, then pick your crew, like pick your team. Let's make it happen. And she's like, no, that's not possible. I was like, I can make anything happen. If you want to do it, let's do it. And so I mean, I went back and looked at the picture to make sure. You and Kyle were up top and some of the other guys were at the bottom, and we got her over the wall and she made the video. And when she went, I don't know if you remember her, when she went over the wall, she was sobbing. She was so proud of herself. She didn't believe that she could go over that wall, and we got her over. And she had so much trust in all of us. So I think that's one of the moments that will stick out with me because she didn't think you guys could get her over the wall, and she didn't think she could get herself over the wall, and that was something she needed to accomplish on her own, and she was able to do it. And just seeing her face light up when she made it over, and then when she came down, that hug was so special. I mean, she truly believed in herself, and I think if she could get over that wall, she can literally conquer anything in the rest of the world.
Yeah,
So
I'm pretty sure she was one of the pictures you sent me. There was
yes,
yeah,
yep.
so that's the beginning of the video. So that's the very first picture of the video
Oh, I love
for
that.
this
Okay.
interview. And so I remember her getting out of the car because she was from Sand Springs. I remember her
Okay.
getting out of the car and kind of standing, like before you went into the tunnel, like where the golf cart set, she was
Right.
like literally standing there. And I remember like Ron and I pulling up and like being like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like just having it, like we do
Mm-hmm.
with kids every year. And I remember her just like, like no, I not the tunnel was not going to happen, let alone going over that wall.
Right.
And
Right.
so to see that kind of come to fruition, and I do remember being up on top of the wall and her just, I mean, like that's one of those RYLA moments for me. Like, and I think the wall tends to be that for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's that one time where everybody stands behind you, and you've never felt like, I mean, that's an enormity. Like, I mean, we watch kids do that every year, where all of a sudden, like, you've got all of camp behind you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you are supported by all of camp. And if
Yeah.
you're a kid that's never really felt like you had anybody in your corner, and then there's 143 people in your corner,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
230, or whatever the number may be, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And so I saw that picture, and I did smile because I knew exactly I had a moment with
Mm-hmm.
her as well, on that side of things,
Mm-hmm.
which was just awesome.
I
You
think when she goes over, she hugs you, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She does. Yeah. And so I think back to 2012, and I think like, with every year, like, I mean, it's so interesting. Like that's there, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's the shirt from 2012. And I like sit there the whole time and think through, like, I remember shooting up like a really brief YouTube video, and you think 2012, that's like 11 years ago. So I mean, I was 30, didn't have any kids. And
Yeah.
that was the first shot at this thing for Tracy and I together. And I walked back to Ron and I was like, dude, I don't know what that is or what that was, but that was unreal. Um, and not to replicate it annually, because that's not the goal.
Mm-hmm.
But what you saw was, and Daniel talked about, a couple weeks back, talked about, just kindness and just being kind.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're right. Those guys and girls didn't know you, but I think that it was a sign to me that total strangers could absolutely support each other.
Yeah.
And I saw that to be, that is the, although Rotary talks about selflessness in a different way, and selflessness is really through action. Like, and I say action being volunteerism, and action being projects, and action being polio. Selflessness for us at camp, I think, comes through the action of kindness, and it comes through the action of support. And it's us showing selflessness for 4 days, so high school juniors can walk away with an understanding.
Yep.
In that moment, it was just being compassionate,
Yeah.
being, like, it wasn't about that group. And then if you go
Mm-hmm.
back to that group includes, people that were lifers through camp.
Yeah.
So it's so important. Um, and I don't want to, I don't want to miss that. I think that moment in 2012 was so important. And then I look back every year and I can think about these individual moments that happen at camp. And
Mm-hmm.
typically it's not one particular camper. But then there's like what you're talking about on the high rope side of things, like on the wall. Like I absolutely remember talking to her, and I absolutely remember felt like I was like, there was no way this girl was going to enjoy camp. And
Right.
to have that photo of me and her at the top of the wall, because I can visually remember that, with Natalie, is absolutely important. So I would say, yeah, both of those I fully understand. Tell me, as we kind of wrap up, talk about leadership, like when it comes to, like, if you were going to tell folks in one way, shape, or form, like, what are some things away from camp that you take away from a leadership standpoint that can make the world just a better place, and some things that really, you love, when it comes to your leadership? What would those things be?
Um, don't be afraid to do the right thing. Always. I think so many times people are afraid to stand up for people. They're too afraid to speak up. I think that's what I took from Milo the most, and I probably use it more every day. I'm gonna stand up for what's right. If someone's getting bullied, I'm going to say something. If they're out of line, you know, there's maybe a different way to approach it. Is it probably the right way? No. But I think that's what I mean, I learned from RYLA that I have a voice and I need to use it. And I don't think going into RYLA, I necessarily knew that I had a voice coming from such a small town and um, just not knowing that I could speak up or have an opinion or for my own person as you know, I was just a small town girl and now I feel like I'm my own person. I have my own personality, whether it's right or wrong. And I believe in what's right. And I believe that kindness and love is the only way to move forward. So I apply that in my leadership. I apply that in my everyday job. I apply that in the charity that I work with. Love first, man. That's all you can do. And then the rest will follow. So that's probably what I've taken and applied the most is from in my leadership roles is love and kindness always. And then
Yeah,
smiles are free, right?
they are so much. I had a guy, it's so funny you say all that. Like I had a guy the past 24 hours, I had a company come into Tulsa called the Moms Tour.
Mhm.
And they're with the US Department of Health and Human Services. Tulsa ranks as one of the top 50 cities in the nation in infant mortality.
Oh
And
wow.
their goal was to go into 50 cities that have the highest numbers in the nation over 2 years and to impact young moms and give young moms resources. And I literally, one of the guys that was there as part of this tour was, he had a thing called the Dad's Den, and it was for young dads. And he runs a nonprofit out of Dallas. And like, I literally felt like everything you said right there, he and I were having this conversation. And I took him one of the Smiles or Free 99 shirts and a New
Yeah.
Day shirt yesterday morning. And this, I mean, this dude thought it was the greatest thing ever. He's like, man, that is like KoolAid.
That's awesome.
Like you guys have some special sauce with what you guys are doing. He doesn't even understand Rotary. He's like, but it
Yeah.
doesn't cost anything to smile. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. And I think what you said is summarizing everything is it's about being authentic and being authentically
Mhm.
you, and not apologizing for being you. But at
Right.
the same time, do the right thing. How many people are scared to speak up or scared to make a decision for the fear in business, the fear of what could come from that decision when somebody puts you in a position to make that decision.
Yeah.
Somebody entrusted you as a leader to make decisions. I married Tommy Jane. Guess what? I got to make decisions for other people. The
Yeah.
same thing for her. We entrusted each other when we got married. Our jobs are the same way. And so I think getting back to being authentic, I think that's a huge piece. I think the screaming and yelling to be kind, it
Yep.
doesn't cost anything to be nice to people. um,
Amen.
and I think that's huge. um, I also would love to tell you that I just think the world of you, think the world of your brother, think the world of your family. People may not know that your mom also taught my son, taught Maddox while you guys
Yeah.
Sky
Yeah.
took when mom and dad were down here. um but you guys, I mean, I love doing life with you guys and having you guys to be a part of the RYLA family. And I know Kylie talked about that last week, a little bit about family. And we have those pockets of people that we come in contact with, and I'm blessed to know that back in 2011, I listened to some things you said. Just because I was the adult,
Right.
doesn't mean it's also not important to listen. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
we're blessed to have a bigger and better Rylomania. We're blessed to continue to have the amazingness of the flag ceremony, the amazingness of
Mhm.
affirmation cards, because you were bold and you were willing to say this is important.
Yep.
Um, and I appreciate that very much. So this has been the RYLA routine. Erin, as always, I appreciate you. We'll be back next Sunday with another guest, and have an awesome week.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure and looking forward to next week already.
Awesome. Bye bye.